everybody, and welcome to Life Chats with Maggie and Bunny. I'm Maggie.
And I'm Bunny.
Well, Bunny, this is our first recording for 2025.
Yes, yeah.
Wow. What a what a powerful time we're able to live in.
hmm
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
So,
crazy to even think of 2025 when I still remember 1999 and that whole Y2K was gonna happen and to think that that's 25 years ago already.
I
That's
know, like
crazy.
it's a blink and it's
Yeah.
like I must be getting old if that's like 25 years ago is a long time ago.
I think this just proves that whole idea that time is just a human construct and how sometimes it seems like forever and sometimes I'll tell you when I used to work traditional jobs, sometimes that last 15 minutes of my job felt like it was forever. And then the 15
Yeah,
minute
you're
break
watching the
went
clock. Is it home time? Is it
yeah,
home time? Is it
yeah.
home time? Is it home time?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
So yeah. So maybe it's just that. I don't want to say that because I also think that 25 years that was just like a blink. So I don't want to put us into the we're old.
Yeah. I don't know though. In some regards, I think it's true because I don't know. How can my baby be in his 30s if I
I
didn't
know.
if I'm still in my 30s? I don't think that can
Yeah.
happen.
No.
I don't think there's a way for that. But
Yeah.
so today we want to talk about what happens if you listen to your intuition. Is there such a thing as intuition? What is
Mm,
that? What is that still small voice that I personally, and you don't have to believe what I believe,
yeah.
I personally believe that we are all born with it.
hmm
What happens when you believe that? What happens when you listen to it?
hmm We're gonna talk. What are we gonna talk about? We're gonna talk about what intuition is. I mean, I think that we do have in society, in our accepted society beliefs, you often will hear go with your gut. Have
Mm-hmm.
detectives have gut feelings,
Yep.
and so that kind of stuff. And so as far as I'm concerned, that stuff is your intuition. That's
It's
the
just
stuff
another
that,
name for it.
yeah,
Just
it's just
another,
another, exactly.
like I always say, follow your soul,
Right.
follow that calling in your soul. To
Yeah.
me, it's all the same thing.
Yeah. And
It's
and
all
I
the same thing.
and I know today we were talking beforehand and we were saying what we're going to talk about and we're going to talk about the small little nudges. The idea that it isn't just the big things like the people who, are kind of get the nudge not to go a certain way and then they find out something happened or that kind of thing. Not those big ones that you're like, wow, but like the small
Yep.
little things that happen that just are like, huh, where'd that, or why did I have that thought, that idea? For me, myself, I don't hear it in there are different clairs, the five senses, the clair senses. So there's the clairvoyant, which is the seeing, clairaudient, which is the hearing, clairsentient, which is the feeling, claircognizant, which is the knowing, and oh, I guess there's six. And then there's I can never remember these two, the name, but it's tasting and smelling. And so those ones don't happen quite as often. And I don't know if there's if you get as much message or much information through
Yeah.
smelling and tasting as you do through those other, but those other big ones, the big four. So for me, it's almost like I can get a an energy sense and then a drop in of a thought.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what it happens to me. What is it like when it happens to you?
Well, I have on different occasions throughout my young life, I would say that I've experienced each one of those. I've
hmm
experienced each one of those senses. I've tasted something before, then there's nothing in my mouth, but I keep tasting this. Hmm. It just is.
Yeah.
And it brings with it a memory or a recall that I'm supposed to be having. But for me, for the most part, it's just a knowing.
hmm
It's just a knowing in my soul that almost like somebody's talking to me, but there isn't really anybody talking to me there.
Yeah.
But it's almost the same as that. It's as real as that.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'll just jump right in and talk about that little example.
Yeah.
Um, it was probably about 2 weeks ago that I was going to visit a client and I was getting dressed, and today I don't have any earrings on,
Yeah.
but that particular day I put these two citrine earrings on. I have these crystals that are just little pieces of rock, and I put them on. I put this one on, I put this one on, and as I put this one on this side, I pushed the back on, and that little small voice said, "That back isn't very tight, and I think it could come off." And I just sort of shrugged it off as whatever. I pushed it on a little tighter and said, okay, went about my way, went through my day, did all those things. And at the end of the day, I was changing my clothes. I only had one earring. This one here was gone. Immediately, when I noticed that earring gone, I remembered this morning, in the morning,
Yeah.
that voice saying, this could fall off. And I went, oh, I should have listened. But then I immediately went, Creator, I really like that earring. Do you think you could find it and send it back to me? Mm-hmm. And I had just finished saying that prayer, manifestation, or whatever you want to call it, whatever you believe in. And my phone went off and there was a text. And the client whose house I was at said, did you lose a citrine earring? Immediately, like I'm telling you, it couldn't have been any faster. And I'm going, holy shit. It's like, I believe in this stuff, but then when it happens, I'm shocked. Like I never even believed it had ever happened before.
Yes.
So I immediately texted and said, yes, I did. And then went on to talk to her about what happened. And I said, holy wow. Like not only this morning did that happen, but then when I asked it to come back, was at the exact time that you found this and you messaged me. Like,
yeah.
How does that?
Like it wasn't like she sent a text earlier, or it wasn't like it was the next day. It was like
literally within seconds.
Wow.
And it just made me stop and go, wow. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's only a tiny little insignificant thing. Like, I could have got another pair of those earrings. I don't really even wear them very often. I was only wearing them because they're yellow and it has some meaning to me when I visit her. So that's the only reason that I wore them. Like, I can't even tell you the last time that I wore those earrings. So it's not like they're my prized possession.
Yeah.
But it was a teachable moment for myself.
Yeah.
As well as for her, and now for all of us as I share this story, we need to pay attention to those little things.
Yeah.
Because they do happen, and they are, no matter how insignificant they seem, they're very significant.
That's exactly what I was going to say. They're very significant. And on top of it, too, is like we overlook them. We take it for granted. These are the things that we don't like, or we wish it away, not wish it away, but kind of like convince ourselves that, that didn't really, it has nothing to do with it. But like, it really does go to show how woven our world is, how woven the universe is, how like we've talked about before, how like certain things had to happen, and it can be for some very small, what seemingly small or insignificant moment. But also, I like to remind myself that like I am that special that the entire universe can arrange this. You're that special that the entire universe can arrange something for seemingly very insignificant small thing.
As well as for very significant things.
For sure.
Because, I also, those small moments make me sit down and look at the wonder of it all. Because even here, look at me as a trained bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Walked away from that career to become somebody who supports the dying.
Right.
It's all the things that had to be woven into place for that to happen.
Right.
For me to meet the people that I meet right now, for you and I to get connected and meet and start this company and start these podcasts.
Yeah.
How much thread, so to speak, had to be woven into that life blanket to
Right.
build what we have right now.
For my human brain cannot grasp the vastness of that. I've heard of I know what you and I have talked about this before. I'm not sure if you remember her, but Anita Moriani. So she is an author, and whenever I think about the interwoven likeness of the
Yeah.
universe, I think about her story about after when she had her near death experience and was talking to her dad who was deceased, and he was showing her the tapestry and how like the threads and how it's all like woven. And she even said too, like it boggles our mind. I do believe that I've heard her. I don't know if it was in interviews or like YouTube videos on her own platform, but her saying that she's so glad she doesn't have to think about how this gets to like that gets all taken care of in the background.
Yeah,
Like that's not stuff that we have to like consciously think about. But I think it's more like what you talk about, and I know that you live your life very much like this is waking up in the morning and saying, "Hey, spirit, use me. What are we doing today? Where can we go?" And like you've had some incredible experiences. As often you had called them your holy shit moments, and like where like excitedly calling me or texting me and being like, "You will not believe." And like the fact, like you said, we are living in the spiritual. We see these things. We've seen miracles. We've seen things happen that you're just like, wow, this is uncanny. But it still excites us and
yeah,
amazes us every single time. Like
yeah,
every single time. And I do think that when you have that energy, that flow of that excitement, that it actually does, when I talk about my miracle magnet moments, is it attracts more to you. And
absolutely.
essentially is because like you're in that energy and like attracts like. And so if you're in that energy of amaze me universe, like
Yeah.
just show me the most amazing things. Now I did talk to you. I've had like it's kind of insignificant or what I would think of insignificant things. Like even things like where I'm trying to think of which one is the least embarrassing to tell a story right now. And I guess I'll tell this one. So just before Christmas, my sister said, "Hey, do you want to go out? Do you want to go out to a friend's house to play cards?" And I said, "Sure. Like I'll go." And I said, I'm just wearing like kind of bummy clothes. Like I was I was wearing my Rudolph shirt, the t-shirt for Christmas that had sequins on it. And then I wore these pants that are pajama pants that have skeleton legs, like they're like they're like bones for the legs. And I had a little nudge to like put on a bra, which like I was like wasn't going to, but I was like, yeah, okay, I'll like do this. Well, we go to the friend's house and he's sleeping. And another friend of ours, their band was playing at the bar just down the street. And so she said, "Well, since he's sleeping, do you want to like go and hang out at the bar and watch the band?" And I am now dressed in
Pajama bottoms.
pajama bottoms. And it essentially looks like I'm Rudolph with like skeleton legs, which was very funny. But at least I was wearing a bra, so I wasn't that. So I wasn't that because I don't. I think I probably would have had a different reaction. But like that was like I didn't listen to the other nudging that told me to put on normal pants, but because I was like, that's fine. But it was like that kind of like fun little things like that
Yeah,
when I'd say that's insignificant, like that's very insignificant because it's just not even that anybody cared because nobody even mentioned anything.
yeah,
Because you know I do wear some weird things sometimes, so people probably just thought I did that intentionally. But
yeah.
it was a very fun little thing of like following my nudges and like being like when you get those small little like I'll also even like for taking a nap where and then I'll be like, oh no, it's only like 6 o'clock. If I sleep now and then wind up something happens, maybe somebody calls me, I wind up on the phone, talking to them. Or when my kids were little, they would get sick, or be
And you're
teething
up
or
all
something, and
night,
I'm up
so
all
you
night.
needed that nap to
Yeah,
prepare for it.
yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
there's sometimes though too that it's very significant things. I
Yeah.
can recall a time that my friend who lives in another town over was coming to visit me, and her and I were going to do something. And she called me in the morning and she said, I don't know why, but she said, I just feel like I can't come now.
Hmm.
She said, I just can't come. And me, because of the way I live
Yeah.
my life, I said, hey, yeah, you got to pay attention to yourself.
Yeah.
And if something's telling you not to come, don't come. Well, it turned out when she would be on the highway, there was a horrific crash
Hmm.
that she may or may not been involved in.
Right.
So that's where it's one of those times that I think it's not always insignificant
Right.
things.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's very significant.
Yeah.
You know, you've heard stories of people who their flight, they missed their flight and that
Yeah.
something happened to that plane and it crashed and suddenly they're not on it.
Yeah.
Like
Now,
it can be very significant.
this has brought me up to the difference between a spiritual nudge and anxiety. So there are some times where you can have um a fear-based
Yeah.
idea that comes in, like you said, with like a plane crash. Say that, for my example, like when my son was going to be going back to school and I had anxiety, and immediately I was like, oh no, is something bad going to happen to the plane? Um, and I couldn't understand it. And I so wanted to text him and be like, you can't go home. Like I really wanted to do that. Now, that's different than those other little nudges for
Mm-hmm.
me in that like and then actually like finding out that then his plane was actually canceled because of weather. So like realizing that that's actually what the anxiety was, like, because I knew that that was going to happen, and like I kind of felt that he was going to miss, like, there was some kind of thing, but I just misunderstood it. I took it as
Yeah.
a fear-based thing, and I didn't get the full message. And so that, I think the biggest difference for me, or the way to be able to tell the difference, is it's not fear-based when
Right.
it comes up. It's not something that is like, you must do it this way, or that,
Right.
like, it's a very different, there's no judgment on it.
Right.
Because like your higher self, like, I know that this might sound insensitive to some people who would be listening right now, but your higher self wants all experiences. The soul wants all experiences. So everything is accepted, everything is okay, everything is allowed. So even if there was, like, if that was your time to pass in an airplane crash, like, it's going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm. But
But
it's also not your higher self doesn't bring you fear based
right,
things
that's what I was
because
going to say.
from your higher self, there is no fear in death.
Because there's no judgment. Exactly. There's no judgment in that. So it is
Mm-hmm.
it is seen through a much different lens, and it's more of our ego-based response, because our ego is trying to protect us. Like, that's the
Right.
whole idea, is it's protecting our body. It's trying to have us survive and keep living as long as we can. So sometimes those fear-based motivations come, and so that's the thing. Sometimes like, sometimes, yes, it's like I have to sit for a moment and kind of go, is this fear? Like, if I'm having a fear reaction, like, what
Right.
is happening? Like, what is
And
this
it's all
idea?
about being in tune to your own self,
Hmm.
in tune to your own self that you can ask your body, you can ask your soul, you can ask yourself,
Yeah,
what is it that I'm feeling?
right. Yeah. Well, even if the what am I feeling is like mind stuff, it's more like in the body, like what sensations, I think,
Yeah.
like, and because I know, when if I try to label, sometimes if I try to label an emotion, that gets me in my head and it pulls me out of the body. But really, a lot of things is like, when we have anxiety, it's like, because we're outside of the now moment,
Mm-hmm.
and in the, when we talk about mindfulness with John Shearer, right? So that now moment, so being in the now, what is it that we can do right
Right.
now, in this now moment? Nothing bad is happening, like, and if
Right.
it is, then yeah, the body's telling you to move. Like,
And
if
the
there's.
reality of the now moment as well is that we are human beings
Hmm.
living in a human body.
Right.
So, although we're spiritual beings, we're still living in this human being.
Right.
So, we're going to have human feelings, emotions,
Right.
thoughts, all of that stuff.
Right.
It's like I remind people all the time, yes, just because I live a spiritual life and just because I practice mindfulness doesn't mean that I don't have human emotions. I do have human emotions. I do experience times of anxiety.
Right.
So don't think just because you have human emotions that it makes you any less spiritual. That's
Right.
not true. It
No,
doesn't.
it actually makes you more, to be honest, because like you are, it is, you are meant to be having all of those,
Yeah,
all of the emotions that we have as human beings, right? Like that is the reason that if our soul didn't want to have these human emotions, we wouldn't be
we
here.
wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what we wanted to talk about today, to bring you and to invite you to look at those small moments for, are they small
Hmm.
or are they something big for you?
Right.
That whole story of my earring,
Yeah.
was it something small and insignificant, or was it a very large reminder of how connected I am? Yeah. So Bunny's having some technical difficulties on her end. So we're going to wrap up this meeting today and say goodbye to you. And again, if you need to reach out to us, you know to find us at aboveandbeyond.com is our website, and ataboveandbeyond@gmail.com. There I am doing Bunny's part of this podcast too, just because I can. So, for all of you from the both of us, even though she can no longer speak, I will say thank you and have a fabulous day. Bye bye.